Hello, eccentric entrepreneurs. This is Taylor Elwood, your business wizard at ImagineYourReality.com. And today I want to talk about the issue of price and accessibility. Um, I've been thinking about this recently because I've looked at some of my prices for my different businesses, there's the thing is that when you have an ideal clientele, you also probably have a price point in mind for that clientele, what you think that clientele will pay for your services. What I find though sometimes is that there's a tendency to not always consider the issue of accessibility. Are your services accessible? Can people actually afford those services? It doesn't help either if you're told that there's an industry standard where you're supposed to have your prices set at a certain point. And the reason that doesn't help is because sometimes you focus on that to the point where you don't pay attention to the accessibility of your actual clients. And so you set a price that may be too high for them in terms of affordability. The reason why this is an issue is because we really do have to think about accessibility with our services. Is what I'm offering accessible? Can people that I want to work with or serve actually afford the cost of what it is that I'm offering? If they can't, then you're actually defeating yourself. And sometimes what I see with businesses, and it's something I've experienced myself, is that you set the price too high or too low, and you don't get, you really don't get the clients that you're hoping to get. You set it too low and you get the people who don't really value it, but you set it too high and you get few and far between people because they can't afford it. Let me tell you something, if you're not making money, your business is going out of business. And so the reality is you have to think about accessibility when you come up with your price. Yes, you want to be paid for what you are worth. And it's important to know what your time and effort is worth, especially because a lot of times you're doing things where you're not getting paid for it. Business owners, they do a lot of work where they don't get paid. Because, like for example, I'm making this video right now. Am I getting paid for making this video? No. Yet I'm making it as part of my marketing, as a way to reach out to people. So you have to think about that in terms of your price, but you also have to think about accessibility. Are my services accessible? Can someone who needs my service actually afford it? Or am I setting myself up in such a way where yeah, they're interested, but they can't afford it because it's too high? Now I know, they'll say, like with sales, that it's you have to you have to know what your value is and stick to it, and that if people say they don't have enough, or an objection like that, it's that they don't value it enough. And I get the point of that with sales. Yes, there is some truth to that. At the same time, I also think that there's also a lot of truth to the reality that we have to think about accessibility. So the question comes right down to, if a person says that they can't afford it, is it because they don't value it? Is it because they're not convinced of the value? Or is it because maybe they just can't afford it? I think that we need to look at these kinds of questions, and we don't. Because we're sold this line of thought that says, well, what's important is that I focus on what I'm worth, and if people say that they can't afford it, then obviously they have an objection, and I have to persuade them. I have to twist their arm and force them into buying my service. I don't like that approach to sales. And I don't think it's actually really fair to the people that that you want to work with. If these people are your community, you want to think about it in terms of accessibility. Am I making myself accessible? I'm not saying that you lower your prices so much that you're not getting paid what you're worth. I'm not saying that you don't value your time, but what I am saying is that you look at the value of your time, but you also look at the fact that you value your clients, and you look at how much is going on with them, and you factor that in. And I really don't see that in sales. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself a tough question here. Are my services accessible? Am I providing enough access? Am I providing access for people? Or am I setting the bar so high then I'm actually making it harder for myself to make a living, and I'm making it harder for those people to make a living. Let me know what your answers are. Feel free to share in comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do that over here. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great weekend.